Welcome back to Anime Savants, everyone. This week I am Gene Skywin.
Oh, damn. I guess this week I am Isagi.
Whoa! Okay.
This week.
So last week we didn't really do any reviews because there was just too much to do preview-wise. So we've got 2 weeks for some things and 1 week for Gundam because do you know why they got delayed or when did they announce that delay?
I don't know. It was a week or two ago that they announced that they were going to have a delay.
Okay, because I woke up and I was expecting it and I was like, damn.
Yeah.
No Suletta.
And they didn't give really a reason, but my guess is that if it's not delayed over an actual holiday, because they will push a episode back if it's during one of those critical times like Golden Week or other things, and I would have expected more to see like a delay for the next week's episode, even though the holiday is on the 26th, and they release on Wednesday. No, wait, sorry, they release on Sundays.
Yeah.
Which for Mercury does. But my guess is that there were some production delays, which is not unusual. And in fact, you would be more likely to see a delay for the later episodes in the season if there was such an issue than you would the earlier ones, because as we've talked about before, on the production schedule, oftentimes a show will go to live airing with maybe the first 6 to 8 episodes totally done, and then the rest of them they would all have to be finished in some sense or another before the season started, but finished can mean like needing touch-ups or like other things, which can take a while because the staff actually is probably already cycled to other projects, but they keep the bare minimum around for that finishing the last few episodes. So if there was any kind of hiccup that had happened even 2-3 months ago, that this would be the point where you would feel it. And it's only a week delay, so it's not really a big deal. And I haven't seen anything reported that they had production problems. So it's equally possible that it's just to be mindful around like the holiday period, though. Yeah. It's weird because this is an awkward week to push back an episode. But hey, it is what it is.
Yeah. Well, we'll see it eventually. But what happened on the... Oh, so we didn't talk about that episode though last week. So we could just knock that one out since that's like the only one. Or that's the only one that has one. So Shadiq is just evil. And he doesn't know how to do it.
He's
not evil. But he's on my nerves. I like the twist with the other witches. Or I'm assuming they're witches from Earth. So
yes.
Yeah.
So they call anybody who can interface with Gundam in that way, I guess, a witch? Yeah. Is that how we're supposed to interpret that? I thought that maybe I thought it meant only the people who could like make it, but then it kind of doesn't make sense because if they're calling Suletta a witch, then it means that like obviously she didn't build Ariel, and neither did her mother. Can't pilot it, and the other woman who like copied her from Pale, who was like a junior colleague. It's not like she was able to pilot it either, but they were calling her a witch. So I'm not totally clear on the nomenclature, but I actually don't care. Like, it's not a big deal what they mean. All we know is we got
to like a fine definition eventually, but
100%. And it also meant that we got new mobile suits to be interested in, and the idea of like African mercenaries who are cool.
Are those the 2 mobile suits that showed up in the opening behind Homeboy?
I don't know. They
added those in like later in the season.
Yeah,
I don't standing in front of those beforehand.
I don't know, and I'm part of me wants to say maybe not, because does it make a lot of sense that because that scene they were testing that those new mobile suits in the beginning, and it sounds like this is a completely sort of off the radar mercenary group. So I don't know if there's supposed to be like a connection, but we didn't really meet much in the way of like Shadiq's company, which I'm forgetting which company his family represents, until kind of where we're at now in the series. Whereas that it seemed the implication I got is that was like Delit, something to do with them, because it obviously like the attack on the station was all like Delit people who were. So I don't know. I'm perfectly fine being wrong about that particular detail. It's possible.
Yeah. I don't know if he's going to actually die. Would you? Well, let me put it this way. If he dies, then that gives us the correct impetus for things to go into space. Because if the group breaks up, the school has no reason for existing. Because that school is ran by the group. So that means that all of that they all go their separate ways.
I think he almost has to die.
Yeah,
you know?
But I kind of also
think,
feel like they might be, like you said earlier, Guel might die. Like they might be setting him up. Like sacrificial, like fighting, and then he hops into a Gundam somehow because they didn't detail what they were transporting. So in typical Gundam fashion, Guel might be in that cargo ship with a Gundam prototype and try to pilot it and die.
Yeah,
maybe
that's definitely possible. My belief is that Delit almost has to die in order for most of the other movement in the plot to happen, because in a lot of ways his role in the story has already been pretty much used up. The only other thing that he might be valuable for is some moment of triumph related to the Gundam company and Miorine individually. But like if you think about it, what was the primary conflict that got set up? It's that Miorine wants to escape the control of her father, and also that his the rules that he made that are sort of been like artificially holding everybody back. They're holding back technology through Gundam. They're kind of holding back the Delic Corporation because everybody has a different idea about like what they want to do with the with the opportunities that are out there, good and bad. And then on top of that, like him being alive, like it's really not like I'm trying to imagine a situation where he would live and then Miorine would still have a reason to want to like leave the school, because if he's dead, then you could credibly like come up with an easy scenario. What's the right way of saying this? In order for her to express her very specific desire about changing the world, her father cannot be in the picture at all. Like he can't be there. Otherwise, the story has to be Miorine versus her dad. So, like in a way, like he kind of already wrote himself out of the story the moment that Prospera showed up in that like debate over whether like Gundams could be people should be punished for the Gundam thing. Because once he kind of acquiesced there and then gave the money to start the Gundam Corporation, you could already tell like even the way the show was framing him,
dwindling antagonist or something.
Yeah, exactly, right. He kind of had already given Miorine what she wanted, and then that statement that he made like a few episodes back, where it's like you think that this is that the easy part is like overcoming this wall, but actually it's everything that comes after that. And I don't want to say that like that Miorine's character is going to have fond feelings for her dad, but what a great way to like open up the story possibility if he dies and then she is conflicted about everything, because in fact he did give her the money to make this, to get everything in motion. And she needs enemies, right? She needs other people that she has a beef with. What is Miorine's actual beef with any of the other primary like corporations and other things? Like almost nothing. Like what? Yeah, they got nothing. Yeah, but if they killed her dad, and right, if they killed her dad, you got like Gel involved. Like I don't think he dies. I think he knows by virtue of being on that ship and surviving. He has a different perspective on the real events, because it's going to be what is said to other people, what's covered up, and then like what is revealed. Yeah. So I could easily see like his character living through that attack, and then now it's like the game of telephone, like the things that people know and the things that people don't know set different groups on different trajectories, maybe even against each other story-wise, which I like. There's a lot of
that makes sense, because the whole time they're just talking about Plant Quetta or whatever it is. I'm just like, okay, so this is the climax for the season. But do we have 2 more episodes left?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, there are 2 more episodes left. So it's gonna end on a banger. I know that much. So they can take their time developing. Also, we're seeing the beginning of the schism between Sulema and Miorine, and it kind of hit her hard.
We called that though.
Yeah, it hit her hard. Like she kind of had the come to Jesus moment like all at once. So there might be a moment where Suletta has the ability to save Miorine's daddy, and
it may be that.
It might not happen, but we can guesstimate somebody's 2 or 3 people dying. It's like somebody dying before we get done with this season. They're gonna die, but where is everyone going to stand at the end of it? And is Shadiq gonna be able to properly manipulate Miorine into being on his side? Because he clearly has not given up.
I think he sort of will succeed in that, and I also think that we already have. Yeah, I think we've been shown the building blocks of what's going to happen, especially Miorine going out and getting her own ship. I think that the ultimate move is actually Miorine essentially betraying Suletta by leaving without her, which they've threatened on 2 occasions already in the story. Right, like this has already almost happened. It almost happened in it almost happened in episode 2 when she was on the spaceship and ran into the captain the first time, and we find out in that conversation that she had actually paid for them to be the one to get her. And that's what Suletta fucked up when she first got to the school, was that Miorine was escaping to get picked up by a ship, and those were the people. So so inadvertently Suletta stopped it from happening the first time, and then like barely an episode or 2 later, Miorine herself decides not to go. She slips her dad's security, then runs into the captain, but then says, I'm actually gonna stay. And then that's what like gets the whole, confrontation with the board, and Suletta standing up and standing up for her destiny. And there you go. So on 2 occasions already, Miorine has tried to ditch, and it didn't work out. I think the third time is a charm, because she has it all set up where she's got the ship, she's got the captain, she's got the resources of the Pale Company. They even said in like the episode before that the Pharact is currently not available to the students because of reasons. So it stands to reason that like the people who go with Miorine on the ship, their Gundam is going to be the rebuilt Pharact, which is great because it's got the Alan memory clone body morph guy who died. Like, that's going to be connected to that mobile suit. God only knows what the fuck is inside that AI that was connected to his brain. Like, who knows? And then
is Suletta going to eventually get inside of it again?
I mean, she may get inside of it. It could be that the real Alan sides with Miorine's group, and so you've got like a perfect antagonist pair, because Suletta thinks that she's already won him over from his his weird fucking behavior, but in fact it's a totally different person.
It's like a double betrayal in her eyes.
Yes, exactly, because she doesn't know that other person is dead. So that's going to be a real mind break when the real Alan lets her know that the person that she thinks he was killed by him or by his company, effectively.
I can actually see Suletta becoming so mind broken and like changing that she uses that Suletta forgetta shit like in a crazy way.
That's bad funny.
Right before she kills somebody, be like, Suletta forgetta, bitch. I don't know who you are.
Yep.
Die.
I also think it's super important that Gel is on the ship that gets hijacked, because he'll be the one who knows what actually went down, and
I don't
probably
think his dad knows he's there.
No, he doesn't. His father doesn't know shit about that. And because Shadiq is the one who set the assassination plot in motion, group. So he knows all the details. He doesn't. Whereas the dad was like, "I've just got you the fuck out of there," And Gel's kind of doing his own thing under the radar, because it's not like they're treating him like he's special because he's the. I don't even think they know. I'm not even sure the people on the ship know.
I don't think they know
what
because
his background
I think he said he was supposed to go be like an apprentice or with somebody.
Yep, and he just ditched.
Yeah.
So I think it's important that he's on the ship, because if they're setting him up to be Suletta's knight, because they've teased that now on 2 different occasions, then the catalyst for him coming back into the picture is that he has to know some details. I'm also guessing that probably specifically that those are Shadiq's people, that there's some connection between them. But he has to know some detail such that when Miorine decides to go one way that he's disgusted by that, and therefore winds up on the Suletta side, whatever that is. So just good writing, I think, overall, and I expect a lot of that to pay itself off.
It was a really good setup episode. Yeah. All right, what else? Spy Family was cute. I cared more about the Becky part than I did. Oh wait, but we didn't even get to talk about the tennis.
Well, there's two parts of that.
So the end of the tennis match was great.
That
was actually really fucking crazy, to be honest. Like the animation during that, I was like, this is so.
We're in a whole other show.
Yeah, like this is so much. But that was really enjoyable, and I actually was like caught off guard. First, I keep forgetting about Lloyd's spy specialty stuff because when they were like, "Oh, he went to the bathroom," I'm thinking, "What? Where is he though? How are they gonna steal this?" And then she puts the bag down, and it's really obvious that the bag is really important. And then when Homeboy was saying, "Oh, we're gonna escort you out," etc., I'm thinking, "Oh, that's Lloyd. That's Lloyd right there." Of course, he was just in plain sight the whole time. Just no one else could figure it out. And then the whole Nightfall sequence where Yor served the ball and
that was so great.
Sliced it. I really thought, oh, she's powerful, but she won't be able to hit it. No, that's just no. That shit got diced. Yeah, she was like, every time I hit the ball, Yor is a monster. Yeah, no, she is. She is, and I really enjoy how the monster aspects they're a constant with Lloyd, but Lloyd seems to not want to acknowledge that she's a monster because he's so like you said earlier, he's so focused on like making sure that she doesn't find out about the spy stuff that he's not paying attention to how strong she is and just the stuff that she's doing. When she kicked him in that bar, I literally thought, oh, his jaw is broken. His jaw should be fractured, broken, something. But, it wasn't. Also, she got drunk. I'm thinking, dude, you should know better now to not bring her nor her brother around any alcohol. Because you know how they act.
Yeah,
but
that's not good.
He got cocky, it backfired, etc., etc. And Nightfall got cocky, and it backfired on her. And
that was more than just a gag, because you can also look at some of these scenes as like representative of what's going on in their real inner lives, but it's actually happening in real life. So that whole long extended cut of like when Yor hits the ball and she's like, wait, it's breaking the speed of sound. Wait, it's coming in a perfectly, straight angle. Wait, I have to meet this head on. I can't back down. I gotta be the best. And all that shit. And it went on for bad long. It got funnier and funnier and funnier. And then the racket broke, and the codage of that of her going to the mountains to train. Yeah. But I was dying when she ran to the car, though. The car was like swerving around.
Oh. And she's in the mountains training with the racket with a huge rock, and the bear and the bobcat and shit are just staring at her. Like what the fuck is wrong with this woman? Yeah, like what the fuck is going on? I enjoyed that. And I also really, 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 from this past week's episode, I really enjoyed Becky's development. Didn't think she was going to even get that much beyond, whatchamacallit? Someone, an acquaintance at school, like Anya's friend. They gave her full-on development, and it was integral to the whole story because you have her dad trying to teach her how to be high life in society, and then that forming her whole like mental psyche, and then she's going overboard. But then you also have the older butler that's been watching over her the whole time and has tried to guide her, but she just hasn't been open to it. And now's the time where she's had some kind of like stimulus to where she's more open to things because she's afraid of losing Anya for being the way that she used to be. I thought that was all handled flawlessly. It was amazing. And it's the little things where Anya's looking out the window and she goes, oh, they're late. They must be shacking up. And he's like, wait, where'd you learn that word? What are you talking? Becky?
Yeah, where'd you learn that from?
Becky? She's like, oh, she learned it in one of her shows. I'm like, yeah, this is all... it's all accurate. It's all fucking accurate. Like all.
And I would guess too. And again, I deliberately have not read forward, so I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But my inclination here is that the Operation Midnight or whatever it is, Nightfall. What's the name of it? What's the Strix? Sorry, Operation Strix. Will ultimately hinge on like what they told you in the beginning, trying to get into this like event for the the
but
family
it won't be
of
through
the
Desmond.
It won't be. It's gonna be through Becky. Becky is gonna be the key to like when it all falls apart at the end.
Mm-hmm.
It's just gonna be through Becky and it'll be
Becky's
both.
Just gonna randomly invite them. Or some
well, right,
shit.
because they keep not realizing that like she's actually kind of up there, and
Arms
Anya's actually
daughter. Like yeah,
and Anya's actually doing a great job befriending her. The thing that she was supposed to be doing with the other dude. So
yeah,
you know what I mean? Like it's just boiling away somewhere over off the main plot. You just don't think about it, but you don't give any kind of development to characters like that, especially recurring characters who are going to be there basically throughout the whole story without a payoff to it. And clearly that would be a sensible payoff. I don't know if that's exactly what happens, but like when you
introduce a believable move. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So it gags aside, I think it's actually good that characters like her get development, but it's just something I'm not expecting to have that matter for a very, very long time.
Yeah.
But I mean, I could be wrong because remember in this season we got that the kid at school who had actually paid for that other spy to get to change the test results, and that played out over like a couple of episodes, and I'm sure that spy is actually going to be a recurring character, even though the kid not so much.
He's gonna come back. They put too much into him. There was too much character there. He's gonna bring his
and
ass
it's like
back.
gags, a lot of like gags to come back to of like him being on the same mission as Twilight, being terrible at being a spy, but Twilight like fixes everything behind him. Like that's just a good recurring gag to deal with here and there. So I like it.
Key point here and there. I don't want to see him too
no,
often, because then I'll be like, okay,
no.
This is getting old. Dude, get this nigga out of here.
No, we good with all that, but we can do it here and there.
I also do wish that they gave us a follow up on Homeboy waiting on the bridge after Anya did that bullshit the other episode. I really wanted some follow up when he showed back up, and the fact where he goes, "Oh, I'm not a babysitter. All you do is call me for babysitting," and he pull out the money. He just takes that shit. He's just like, "All right, what you want to do next? What we doing next?" It's just so I don't want to say fluffy. It's so satisfying watching the show.
Yeah,
it's just so
it's like a nice pillow that you can just like, oh, this is so nice.
It never lets you down. Like it never lets you down. No. It's always comforting. Just
right.
So good. But did anything else really happen? Yeah, Nightfall really wasn't part of the episode from this most recent week. But I honestly did not really give that much of a fuck about the Yor Lloyd thing. And it's going to come back up because there are romantic feelings there. It's just that they're only on your side. And she quite
cannot... Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, Sorry. She just quite hasn't realized that they're actual romantic feelings. She just doesn't want the situation to go away because she does feel that she cares about them both, but there are romantic feelings for Lloyd. She just, hasn't gotten there yet, and Lloyd is just manipulating the whole time, or he thinks he's manipulating, and the moment that he's honest, things solve themselves. So
yeah, and we talked about this before, how while it's a core subplot, you cannot run with it very far at this point in the story. Like it's got to be something that for whatever reason constantly gets like deflected, pushed back, is one-sided, because the moment you resolve that is the moment that you kind of burn all the remaining tension out of
the household.
Like that has to be the end. That's got to be the end result, that so if they both know they have feelings for each other and it's like that,
choose each other at the end.
Yes. Yeah.
Also, I think the mother song is probably going to be important somehow in the future.
Probably.
Because Yor and the mother are supposedly from different countries, so that were warring. So where did that song come from, and why was she singing it for Lloyd and all that kind of stuff like that? So yeah, what else is there? Oh, Blue Lock. Blue Lock.
Yeah, Blue Lock was good. Real good.
They kind
real
of
fucking good.
The Awakening episode for Nagi, not the mother niggas, for Nagi was pretty. Oh, and Kuon.
Kuon did something.
He did. And you know what? He did what niggas in Player do. Hand in the face.
Yep.
Just delete it. Delete it.
Yep.
Actually was shocked when I saw just the out of nowhere. And I'm thinking, oh wow, fouling is valid in this situation. You can't do anything else. You can't do anything else.
What else you got? What you got?
And they were already playing 10 versus 11. So okay, get your ass out of there. And they the whole my feelings and like I want to see this through. And when Raichi decked that nigga, I was like, thank you so much.
That was good. That was good.
Thank you so much, because that's what I was waiting on. Someone to deck him. But the show is it's a really good hype beast. It's so good. Nagi awakening and literally figuring out, oh, is this what it's like to have fun playing this? Oh yeah, I can do this. Like I actually can do it way better than I was doing it, for one. And the awakening process for Isagi and just everyone else with Chigiri and just and go to the second thing. Okay, so what exactly happened? Because I'm not exactly sure with whatchamacallit. So there weren't other cells. Basically, he gave all the teams in like I guess different cells the same letters. So there never was an A, B, C, D team. They were all like W, X, Y, and Z. They were just split up and doing different tournaments. Is that what it was? Well, the implication was that there were all these other teams. Yeah.
But apparently there weren't.
Yeah. And
like it was to fuck with them.
Yeah, okay. So, but weren't there, what was it, like 300 of them? Or maybe there were supposed to be 300, but maybe all 300 weren't, you know what? And that, Ego would do that kind of shit, where you would invite 300 and then to turn away some of them, and then have those people be the only ones doing that. But yeah, I'm interested to see what the hell is going to happen in the next leg, and if they've already set this shit up for him to basically go solo, and everybody else is a rival now, even more like, wow. But it is an ego-driven, like, plot kind of thing. So, yeah, the animation definitely goes back and forth. It, like, does this. But honestly, I don't even give a fuck. Like, when you see the bodies running on the field, the 3D bodies just moving like this.
Save the money.
I don't care, because when the moments happen, that whole puzzle piece stuff where he's moving and the puzzle pieces are just literally coming off of him, or when he's like figuring it out, I thought that was great. I thought that was so cool, because in the previous episodes, it was always just in his mind and it was all finely like organized. And with this, it was his body literally tearing itself apart, trying to figure out what's going on. Or maybe it gave the sense of like he was losing like the whole thing. So like his body, or the sense of like if he doesn't do it, if things don't happen right now, everything's lost. So the puzzle pieces are going away and you discovering this ability and all that kind of stuff doesn't matter. So I thought that was cool. I liked the moment that they did with the 4 main people, where they got the ball and the 4 of them did that lunge forward. And what the fuck is the other guy's name from the other team? Where he just losing his mind, yelling and screaming, "Stop them!" Just, yeah, hype.
Right.
Hype. Enjoyable hype. And not overblown either. Or at least I don't think it is.
Yeah, and I do like that it's important, just like when we talked about the second episode, about how, like, yeah, we kind of knew, like, people were going to get, removed or thrown out, but it was important that, like, you have a character like the whatever that dude was who was talking all that shit after he was super nice. It's also important it's also important that, like, Ego is shown to be a liar. It's very important that that's true for a couple of reasons. The straightforward reason is that you can't have a clash of ideals if ultimately, at the end of the day, everybody in Blue Lock winds up agreeing with Ego, right? Because Isagi was the first one to be like, I don't agree with you, I'm gonna do things my way. But by the end of the, this first part, he's sort of getting on board with Ego's, methodology. It's helping him because it's helping him get better. It's helping him find all these skills that he didn't know he had. All of the things that Ego said he wanted to do are working, right? So it'd be very easy then to look at him as a very altruistic sort of person who's just like an eccentric, he's just an eccentric, and he's got this, vision that no one else agrees with, but he's going to prove it. Mm-hmm. Because it's clear now at the end that he's a big fat fucking liar. It means that you have to go think about all the other things that he said up until now and question whether or not he was telling the truth. For example, is he really trying to find the greatest striker that Japan could create? Is that really true?
Make a team inside of Blue Lock.
Isn't that interesting? What a good question you just raised. So that's important because it keeps, now that we've sort of eliminated some of the mystery about what's going on in the air quotes rest of the program, i.e. there is no rest of the program. It's what we've seen so far. Mm-hmm. There needs to be some other intrigue about that Ego character, because otherwise there really isn't a conflict in this story. Because eventually, basically, every character who makes it through the process, i.e. the characters we're going to see, seasons from now, are all going to be the product of a system that come from a guy that, everyone's on the same page. Oh, yeah, you're right, yeah. Egoistic strikers, all these weird fucking things and hoops we're jumping through. Yep, totally there. There's no central struggle or crisis in the story other than, can the boys that you like survive and win in weird soccer games?
It would turn away from their fear of losing their careers to going against Ego.
Right.
Okay.
Right. And you kind of need that. You need the tension between those two ideas to be ambiguous for as long as you can, because ultimately this is a sports anime. And it's a shonen sports anime. So it's just about your central cast getting stronger and overcoming obstacles. But I wonder if, I think it's a good idea to leave some ambiguity about whether Ego is actually an obstacle or not. Right? And that there needs to be some other conflict besides like, well, are we going to win the next game? Because there's not as much interpersonal drama. So much, I'm not saying these characters suck or anything, but we've seen the formula, right? You start, there's some match that's going to come. You've got the people on your team, and you go by one, kind of identifying the story that each of them has and what thing they've got to get over in order for them to level up to the next, iteration of their abilities. Then the game kind of is crystallized around 2 or 3 characters having to have a moment where they figure some shit out and they either win or they don't win. It's not really important whether they win or they don't win right now.
Yeah.
But that's the formula. So then we've introduced all of our characters. They've all overcome something. It's not like, a high Q situation where there's this, you're watching like the growth of a specific kind of friendship and specific kind of relationships through sports. That's kind of not what this is. This is a Kuroko no Basuke, we need to get to the next level of Super Saiyan soccer player type situation.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we need there to be some ambiguity at the top of this thing to make you want to keep going to the next episode. Like, are we going to learn more about what's really going on and what the real intention is? And I do think that, like, Ego, that character, has to be seen as someone you can't trust for as long as possible. Because at some point, he's just going to be the coach of a team, and then that team is going to be doing very traditional sports shonen things. You know what I mean? Like, eventually that's going to happen. There's going to be 11 players left, and then they're going to go play soccer games, like real-ass fucking soccer games, against, like, opponents that have nothing to do with Blue Lock. So,
yeah.
That's my belief.
Okay. What do you think is the second course?
I have no fucking idea, but since it's all single stuff, it's going to be this is the training arc, where there's some fuckery.
Which I honestly thought they were gonna. They sped us through the training arc with the conditioning, and then it was a no. There's actually a training arc.
No. Well, we got to figure out like some of the show is very like overly stylized, but if you take away like the glowing eyes and like niggas teleporting from one end of the field to the other, it's still they're just playing regular ass soccer. Like, it's still not the craziest thing. Like direct shots, like I'm not saying like anyone can do it, but like that's a pretty regular thing to happen with like your forwards in a soccer game. You don't have the time to trap the ball, and a lot of really onside shots are just they're directs, which are cool. They often don't go in, but like it's cool. It's a skill normal soccer players have. Nothing. I still maintain that aside from like Shigiri getting his own pass, which is like kind of unbelievable, like almost nothing that's been presented in this series is magic. Even all the like glowing eyes. I mean, you take that away, nothing weird happened in these games.
Yeah.
Like, oh god, a guy like beat a couple of defenders and then like had a nice
auras and all that stuff.
Yeah, like right. Like it's not like Kuroko no Basket where they're doing like back of the elbow bump passes. Like no one would ever fucking do that in a real basketball game. You know what I mean? At the highest level.
Oh my god.
You would, if your coach saw you doing that, like you're in the NBA and like some nigga tries like a elbow bump pass, it doesn't even matter if it works. You will be in you'll be in the G League in a heartbeat. Okay, you be out there with LiAngelo Ball trying to fight for a third string spot.
All the Ball brothers aren't playing professionally?
No. 2 of them are and 1 of them is not.
Oh shit! Wait, is it the youngest one?
It's the youngest one, the one who went to Europe forever and came back. It doesn't matter, but the point is, Kuroko no Basket is actual basketball fantasy, and that's fun. That's why it's fun. It's not iShield 21 levels of like goofiness because they try to make it really cool, but like Blue Lock is an incredibly grounded show comparatively, even though they be trying so hard to make these niggas look like they're entering the 8th dimension with like some ability, and then you find out he just got a good header, or like he dribbled really well, he beat a couple guys. Like I watched that happen in the World Cup. Like niggas are just beating other people. It happens. So at some point it'll just be like a regular soccer match, and Ego will be the coach, and maybe half the team that we know will survive. Because I don't think that monk dude is destined for this world.
He's not destined for anything. Yeah.
No.
And Ego said it himself. All of those of you who have gotten by on the coattails of your teammates. Okay. Yeah. And they did that group cheer right before the solo stuff. Come on, y'all.
Half y'all are gone. If you didn't get like top billing in this first half of the season, I don't expect to see your ass anywhere.
You're right. If you didn't get a backstory.
Yeah, right. If we didn't get your tragic backstory, maybe 1 or 2, but the goalie dude, I think, because they haven't introduced anybody who could just take his place.
Yeah.
Right, and like, all
he
just
had
shit like
was
that.
One really big moment.
He got a save.
Maybe
but I think that seems about right.
Maybe. We didn't get a backstory, but, he was definitely present in the stories. Okay. There will
be a team of 11 that makes it out, okay? And they are going to just play regular soccer games, and this whole like egoist whatever, my suspicion is that it's a lie in some ways. And then whatever happens, I don't know. The people who read the comic just hit me up. Like I don't care. It's not going to change my interpretation of the show, because people are like, oh, let me spoil a sports anime. When have you watched a sports anime that did not go exactly like this? Here, I'll tell you the formula. Right now. Misfit team comes together, a bunch of fucking weirdos. The main character is like super motivated, but he probably sucks at the game, and he has like one thing that he does that's like surprising, but like everything else he has no fundamentals, blah blah blah. They play their first few games, they win one, and then they lose a couple. So now you are programmed to think that it's possible that the team could lose, but all the games they lost were like irrelevant, to life and the story. Then they keep going up and up and up and up levels, and it's like they have to figure out some way to put all the pieces together on their team so they can start to win, and then they get used to winning, and then they face like the team that's been like, it's full of geniuses from the previous generation or something like that, and then they beat that team, and then the story is over. You cannot spoil me, okay? I've already been spoiled. I've been around this block for 20 years. So I'm just curious about the stuff that's nothing to do with like the sport thing, which is why I think Eigo's character is what makes me very interested in the series, because it's got something else, some other mystery going on that's worth examining. Like Haikyuu, the thing that keeps me in Haikyuu is because all those boys are very, very, very well written. I don't really care what the results of those games are. Like, guess what? Did you know that Kurasuno beat Shiro Torizawa in the 3rd season after they lost? I don't care. I'm here for the emotions with the beautiful boys. Okay? my precious children. I worry about their emotions and their development. I don't give a fuck that, like, Hinata's eyes became, like, fucking bird crow eyes. He can, like, see the spot to hit the ball one time and again. I don't give a fuck about that. I can't be spoiled. You know what I mean? On this thing. You cannot spoil me. I need some mystery, or I need some drama. Blue Lock is not going to be hyper dramatic in that way, like the interpersonal stuff. Yeah. So I like that they have got a bigger mystery on top of everything that's kind of fantastical that they can kind of play out over God knows how long, because I don't think they're going to reveal anything about, Eigo other than there's some weird shit going on.
Maybe near the end of the season, but yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, it's fun.
What else did you watch this week?
Watch Bleach.
How was that? Was this the daddy's episode?
It was like more or less. You get the backstory on Ishin. But I will say that, the previous episode with like the Asauchis and all that other stuff, you could kind of tell that they dialed back a lot of the production so that they could fit in the Unohana fight and have that look great. So like the part that had to do with like Ichigo and Renji is like literally the low budget. Like some of the scenes didn't even have backgrounds, because like when they're standing around on top of the before they go into like the place with all the unfinished Zanpakutos, it's literally just a blue sky and like ground, right? And
okay.
Like shot reverse of guys talking to each other, and then when they go into the Asauchi like pit, it's just black, and then you just see like some character. So like that's what it was in the manga, but also that is a great cost saver, because you don't have to do a lot in the way of like animation or proofing or your background stuff. Like none of that. It's just real simple. And so they could spend all the rest of the money making the Kenpachi Unohana fight look fantastic, which it did. And they actually added some stuff that was not in the manga to visually better explain what Unohana's Bankai was, because if you read the manga, it's actually not really clear like what it's like. Some people thought it was like acid based because her Shikai is the manta ray that if it swallows you up it heals you, but then if you read the manga, her Bankai kind of just looks like her sword is dripping something dark, and then the fight itself is happening so fast that there's no explanation of what her abilities are, how they work, or whatever. And there's even like shots of both her and Kenpachi that look like their skin has melted off and it's just skeleton. So people thought that like maybe it was like an acid based Bankai, whatever. In the animated version, we very clearly see that she has this thing where she runs her hand along the blade, and then it's her blood that then coats the blade, and then it keeps bleeding. Like the blade keeps bleeding, filling an entire arena with blood and surrounding the arena with blood. So the whole thing, it's like an area of effect, which we never saw before in the manga, and it was never described that way.
Oh, wait, what? Is it like whatchamacallit in Jujutsu Kaisen? What is it?
Oh, you talking about Impure Shrine? The domain expansion, but specifically Sukuna's domain expansion. The Impure Shrine of the demon or whatever king of the spirit. Yeah, it looks somewhat like that, but there's no there's no like terrain features. It's just like a big lake of blood that's filled by a sky that rains blood, and then Unohana can kind of control all of that, and also she still has access to her like incredible ability to heal herself, and do damage to the opponent. She could like shoot when she cuts. It also causes waves and blades of blood to also cut at the same time, so she can attack at range and also get close at the same time. So it's really a cool. It number one, we get better visualization of what her powers actually are. It's animated super good. Like that, there's a budget for that episode. We learn a lot more about her ability, and then the scene where she kind of explains what she's been doing with Kenpachi and then dies is great. It's emotional. Him kind of like waking up from the fight, like holding her after he stabbed her in the throat, and he's like, like for the first time, like he's like, oh shit, what was I doing just now? I feel like I was like, what was the expression? So Kenpachi was limiting himself to the power of the people that he was fighting because he was so powerful that if he realized that he was stronger than everybody else, he could never enjoy a fight ever again. Mm-hmm. And so he subconsciously did this to himself and forgot that he was doing it. And so that was the whole point of Unohana, of killing him hundreds and hundreds of times, because every time he was on the brink of death, he would subconsciously release a little bit more power, to fight against this super strong enemy. But she was like, all right, we don't have time for you to experience the verge of death of, as many times as it would take. I'm just going to jumpstart this. I'm killing you and reviving you, killing you and reviving you, killing you and reviving you until you remember. But the sad part was that she had been like him until she met him. And then once she met him, she realized the absolute sorrow of her life, that she could not experience that battle because he would always limit himself to be just weaker than her. Mm-hmm. So he had to kill her. And so that storyline playing out as she's sort of going further and further and further to push him becomes more tragic. And then when she finally dies and explains, which is something that's just true about life, which is the old have to make way for the young. Yeah. They have to get out of the way. And that she realized that it wasn't her greatest thing in life to like fight stronger people and be the strongest. The greatest thing was to know that she was weak and know that her job was to groom the next generation of the strongest to be better than her. I'm like, take out the shonen bullshit and all the other stuff. That's just a good life lesson. That's a true, and it's true, so then him only realizing what she was trying to do and her message after she was dead, and therefore they couldn't have a conversation about it. It was just him knowing that, man, I will never be able to limit myself ever again, is fucking sick. The only problem, it's not a problem with this episode, it's just a problem with the 1,000-Year Blood War arc, is that if you see all the people that Kenpachi fights after this fight, they're like the worst adversaries to culminate that story, because they all have stupidly absurd powers that have nothing to do with like being strong. Like one nigga could just like think anything and it just changes reality into that thing. Like he's like, oh, I just imagine your lungs were made out of red velvet cake, and then your lungs are just made out of red velvet cake and you die. Right? Like that's Kenpachi's next fight. You know what I mean? What you really want to see is like him going up against Yuha, like rematch. Like that's the shit that this is like prepping you up for. But it's like, nah, you don't get that. And then after the reality warping nigga, he fights Gerard the Valkyrie, whose special ability is he could just miracle himself back into a even stronger form indefinitely. So it's like there's no. They're great, like, wacky concepts for enemies, and I like how those fights turned out, because like I think in the first one, Kenpachi gets the first nigga to kill himself with a meteor or something like that, which is funny. And a smart heads-up way of getting out of that fight after a bunch of bullshit. But it's like, that's not why we went through the Unohana power-up. We didn't go through this deeply emotional, for him to play mind
games with niggas.
Exactly. Like, where you Kubo actually does a great job of, like, explaining something that actually makes no sense, which is, how is it possible that Kenpachi could be the strongest Shinigami when he's lost to everybody? Like, that doesn't, you know what I mean? Like, that doesn't make any sense. So then this kind of resolves that problem in the story. But then we never get to see him actually, like, really live up to the crazy bullshit that we got set up for. So, to me, this is the peak of, like, the badass Zaraki Kenpachi character. And they did a great job visually. They did a fantastic job with this one. So I would just suggest that if you're not even watching the season, to just go find the cut of this fight, and the monologue, not just the action, but like the storytelling that goes into it. Because like, if you're a Kapachi person, this is your peak. It's not gonna get any better than this. And then we also know about. But this is it. So I was waiting for this one. I thought that was good. And then Ishin, we meet Kurisaki's mom, and there's kind of like a come to Jesus moment. This part, I don't know how you felt about it when you were reading the manga, but this is the part where they have to explain how Ichigo is both a human, a Shinigami,
and
a Quincy, and a Hollow.
Yeah.
Okay? So this is the juggling act that has to be resolved with this piece of storytelling. So before I go any further, I know you have not watched this episode, correct? Mm-mm. You just remember the manga. Okay. What is your recollection of what the explanation for this was?
I don't remember.
Most people do not
remember. I just remember he got more powerful or some shit, and he came out with dual blades. And I was like, okay, but this should have been expounded upon way earlier than this. Especially the mom. They've been teasing the mom's death since the beginning, and so when they revealed this, I mean, and you said this before, but I'll just repeat it. It's kind of just like the nigga can only get so much like co-opt power before it's just like, Kubo, nigga, like this just doesn't make any sense anymore. Like, yes, it just doesn't make any sense anymore. Which is, I'm still here. Like, I still read it through, but with the Quincy part of it coming in so late, like if this were a part of content, if this is actually part of his character from the beginning, let's say like he was a Quincy and a Shinigami from the beginning, so he received some of the same like prejudice that Uryu received simultaneously, and then the Hollow stuff got added into it to like make that shit even crazier, I think it would have been more believable. But for it to come near the end like that, I was kind of just like, okay, so yeah, he's this too. Surprise. Okay. Right. You made him everything else. The Fullbringer, a Hollow, a Shinigami, a human, and something else that we probably don't know that's coming in the Hell Arc.
Right. So this, again, will sound like a critique. It's just an explanation of like what the real story is versus like what people remember it to be. Mm-hmm. So I'm only going to talk about things that were covered in this episode, but there's a little bit of like Bleach lore that you kind of have to touch on in order to explain everything. So in the beginning, when we met Ichigo, all we knew about him is that he was sensitive to Reiatsu. Yeah. And so as a result, like he could see all of the, hidden world, blah, blah, blah. Then we are initially told that the instigating event for his awakening was the death of his mom. When his mom died, all of a sudden, like, he started
it's assumed she was killed by a Hollow, right?
Right, but we don't know that initially. We just know that the mom died, right? Okay. Then later on, we are informed that, in fact, yes, she was killed by a Hollow, the Kingfisher Hollow. I think that was the I remember that much, that it had a name. It was a named Hollow, but it was like, compared to the power level of the niggas that we saw later on, like Hollows.
It was nothing.
It was nothing, right? Because we hadn't even met like the Arrancar yet. Yeah. Which, full disclosure, I thought that introduction was fucking awesome in the manga and in the anime. When you first find that there are humanoid Hollows and they're fucking, not only are they cool,
dripped out.
Some of them are also hot, so they're hot men. If you're into hot men, like that's there for you, right? They are also like, they have crazy fun personalities. There's drip and swag. There's right, exactly. Like when you see that power level, the first question you should be asking yourself is, how was Kingfisher or Grandfish or whoever the fuck it was, like, that nigga fucking sucked compared to them, like, power level wise. But you know what? Ichigo's mom is a civilian, so shit fucking happens.
Yeah.
That's also the catalyst for Isshin, his dad, in the storyline, because we don't find out even until past the Aizen, Karakura town invasion, that Isshin actually was a substitute Shinigami himself.
Yeah.
But that he quit because his wife got killed. Or at least that was the implications, that he gave it up after that event happened. But he'd been doing it, I guess, while Ichigo was a kid. He just didn't know about it. Okay. So that's the gist of like what we know about some of these characters who involved. So in this episode, it's all about Ichigo being kicked out of the Zero Squad area because he can't, his Asauchi is not, it ain't the same.
Yeah.
He can't do it in the same way, get it back that Renji could, because Renji went through the normal process of just like having an unfinished Asauchi, then it's on the Zanpakuto, he trains in the Gotei 13, they start to imprint on each other, and then like that's how he developed Zabimaru. And so reforging it is really more of a question of finding that spirit again, that relationship that was broken symbolically by the sword getting broken, so he could do it the normal way. But Ichigo didn't get his Zanpakuto like that at all, right? In fact, like, he was it was all weird from the beginning, because like he somehow already had a bunch of abilities when his Zanpakuto came out. If it didn't have a sheath,
no,
it was already kind of fucking there.
Like a great
when he
sword,
did the thing,
basically. Yeah,
right, exactly. We did the thing with Yororichi, like the old man in the upside down world turned out to actually not be the Zanpakuto, nor was the hollow thing that he met in there.
Nope.
The sword, like everything's all fucked up. So he gets kicked out. Basically said, like, you didn't get your sword this way, so you couldn't get it back this way. The only way you can get it back is if you actually find out about your real past and your real history and who you really are. So he gets dumped. He gets transported right in front of his dad's shop. What is it? What does he do? He's just like medicine or something.
Yeah.
A little like emergency hospital. But instead of going inside, he runs to Izumi, who I totally forgot this character. So it's like a friend of his. Is it Ikumi? Is it the woman who like runs another store? The other place where Ichigo works. That's like his.
Oh, I completely forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally forgot about this character as well. And I'm like looking at this bitch like, wait, who are you? Wait, what's going on? But his dad notices that his son was there and then follows him to the other shop, and he kind of appears in the back room like in full Shinigami outfit, like, it's time that you know the truth, son. And then you get the other half of the episode, which is all about Masaki Kurosaki and how basically Ikumi, that's her name. She's another business owner in Karakura town, whatever. But so then you get like the flashback to, okay, now we're gonna find out, how did Isshin meet Ichigo's mom? And we're told almost right off the bat that like actually Isshin knew everybody. He was actually a captain, or an acting captain in the Gotei 13. He was Hitsugaya's captain, and also like, but they say all the time that like he was only holding that spot for Hitsugaya to like figure out his Bankai and then take over, which also means that he was Rangiku's boss. And they have a great moment of like sexism where where her titties, right? Well, they're out, but like that's not even the issue. So technically, Rangiku is the number 2, and Hitsugaya is further down on the pecking order. And then Rangiku's like, well, you keep saying that like you're holding the spot for Hitsugaya. That don't make no sense. I'm the number 2. I should be the one who becomes captain after you. And then they both look at her, and Isshin's like, if you became captain, it would destroy this company. What? And it's like, I was like, wait, we need some explanation. The implication is that Rangiku's character is not the correct kind of character to be a captain, but like Isshin's character is not the correct kind of character to be a captain. So I'm not gonna go through every other detail, but I want to make a point here that storytelling, y'all, if you like to write things, you can have one character be the nexus of all the action in a story, but you got to be ready for times like this where you create a knot where everything revolves around one character. So in rapid succession, we find out that Masaki lived in Uryu's house and was being groomed to be the wife of the arranged wife of his dad. This is before I think Uryu was born.
Yeah.
But his dad was like, I don't think that that's right, and I don't like feel that way about her, and it's not fair to her that she's only been brought into this house because she's one of the few people with, super Quincy powers who's even still alive, and that like my parents are kind of forcing this to happen, and I don't want that. So right away it's like there's a little like pre-love triangle thing sort of kind of happening that they're halfway setting up. Then Isshin goes to Karakura Town to investigate Shinigami who are dying. They're just getting completely mulched, and nobody knows why. Turns out Aizen is actually involved back then because he was doing some shit trying to like.
That.
I know, I forgot about all this shit too. That he's trying to do something to create a hollow that can absorb the powers of a Shinigami, and one of his test subjects is running around Karakura Town being watched by who's the blind nigga? What I forget his name? Even though he had such drip. What was his name?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know because they killed him.
Yeah, but him and Gin are like, they have a little exposition dump where you find out that like they're involved in whatever is happening here. Isshin winds up in contact with that hollow. It's a badass fight. It looks good. There's a great scene where Shinigami who are already there, like you get introduced to them and you know they're fodder, you know that the death flags are there, and the guy is like talking to his homie on the like at ground level just chatting, and then right when they're talking, like his head splits in half in close range. Like he just got like mid brain decapitated. Yeah, Tozen, who was fucking sick. That's a whole other thing. So he gets killed. Isshin goes one-on-one with this crazy hollow. Looks like he has a chance to win. Apparently, Gin, Aizen, or Tozen, probably Tozen given his ability, literally stab him in the back so that he is nearly killed by this hollow. Masaki shows up. She goes apeshit Quincy mode and like lets the hollow bite her and then blows its head off with a finger gun, which is like, oh fuck, I forgot about that part. And then sees Isshin like on the ground all fucked up, and like they suddenly like have a moment together where she reveals she's a Quincy. She thinks he's gonna be upset. He's like, nah, cool. You know me, I'm Isshin. I love everybody. And so that a little thing happens there, and then you see every other major like quasi-antagonist character watching them from afar. Aizen being like, so this thing that he created that was like a hollow with Shinigami energy somehow put its energy into her. It chose her. That's what the bite was. And then
that's how Ichigo has hollow.
There you go. Right. And now we know that like he was always working on this like Arankar thing for the Hogyoko or whatever it was, and the Uryus are there, the maid and what's his face's dad. They see it happen, and he's like pleased because he sees the emotional moment between her and Isshin, and it's like, great, I don't have to marry this girl because I wasn't really about that anyway. I'm happy that she found somebody else. So all of that had to be explained in about 15 minutes.
They did
in this
that
episode.
Shit in that one episode?
Yes.
Oh wow. Well, okay.
In 15 minutes, you have to explain why does Ichigo have every power that exists in the universe, and on top of why he has every power, Aizen looks like a fucking moron for all of this. Like, if you want to tell me a character that like got worse because of this irresponsible storytelling that had to get wrapped up here, it's Aizen. Because what we find out here is that he's always known about Ichigo.
Yes.
He's always been watching his family and knows that he's the nexus of like all these powers, because literally this was part of his plan. But the plan suddenly doesn't make any sense at all when you think about what he wound up doing, especially what he wound up doing when Ichigo showed up in the Soul Society. None of this shit makes any sense. Right? None of it does.
If
because
anything,
he was
been kidnapped Ichigo or some shit like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Tozen didn't know, or he was playing fucking dumb when like this nigga like using the same route that his dad. First of all, the idea that no one in Soul Society realized that the former captain of the 10th Squad, was always living in Karakura Town and had a whole ass kid.
Several.
Dog, multiple children. Didn't know, wasn't aware his wife was a Quincy, wasn't aware that his kids were all fucking Reiatsu sensitive.
Regularly patrol Karakura Town.
Yeah, they were there the whole time. Nobody knew. For real. Okay, now Aizen looks like an enormous dummy, because what the fuck was he doing fucking around with Orihime?
Maybe that means that Aizen was all controlling them to not investigate Karakura Town because of Ichigo?
Sure. And you know what? I would be totally behind that, given the rules of Aizen's.
Didn't put that in there, though.
But he did. And let's just say that it was true, right? Let's just say that, like, Aizen cast Distract on everybody.
Yeah.
And made them forget, or he had something to do with it. Okay. So when Ichigo, the kid who, it's sort of basically implying that, like, his birth in some way or another was part of Aizen's plan, because in this episode they're like, maybe we should just fucking kill them right now. Like, Tozen's about to go ham on clearly at the doorstep of Death Ishin and unsuspecting Masaki, who he probably power scales at this point in the story. Yeah. And then Aizen's like, nah bro, don't do that, let's watch what happens, because isn't it so crazy that our weird science experiment, like, soul impregnated this girl who may or may not go on to like fuck this dude, and then maybe they have a kid and we could just see what happens, and everyone's like, yeah, okay, sure, cool. And like at that moment, everything that comes after it could have been like him pulling strings, but then when Ichigo literally shows up in Hueco Mundo, wrecking all of his shit, there should have been no surprises whatsoever. He should have known exactly what to do, how to deal with them. And then when Ichigo personally foils his dastardly plan, but it's all a shock to him. Nah. He's a moron. He created, what did he need Ichigo for at that point? He created the thing that destroyed him later, but he didn't know, he forgot about it until it was like too fucking late. So he comes off as looking so much worse. I mean, he already looked pretty bad. He's a big fucking dummy already for getting to where he was at, locked up, doing God only knows nothing in the basement. They show up in episode 4 or 5. Yua is like, you gonna help me? And I was like, no. And then Yua's like, all right, goodbye. Like, okay. But and then as we all know, the end of Thousand Year Blood War, Aizen like is the reason they win, but then it's not in the. It's not even like described. It just kind of happens off screen, and then it's over, and it's like, oh. So he looks like, if anyone suffered the most character wise from this arc, it's gotta be Aizen. It's like 100% Aizen. But then Ichigo being like the ultimate Gary Stu in the process of all of that is also annoying.
What other choice did he have? Because the time was ticking, the clock was ticking. He had to put some shit together and get it out, because,
you know, one thing I'll say about Kubo,
arc. It was over.
He's you know, the king of style. Like, style got him,
and he kept that up to the very end. He did,
right? And he had some interesting ideas, and the power system development outside of like the concept of a Bankai, which is cool. It's just rule of cool. Falls apart because none of these systems ever really work together. Like Hollows and Shinigami and like Shikai Bankai stuff and like Quincy's, they all kind of operate on the same fuel, which is Reiatsu, but the way in which they're described and the way that each of these different groups utilizes it is never really fleshed out in a in like a central concrete way, because there's a thing he could have done, which is just basically be like, yo, the reason why Ichigo's super special is because, yeah, he's like the nexus of all these like different, traditions around using Reiatsu, but like it's kind of like he had no guidance, so he's doing like the version of it. That's why he can use all these different powers, because he's not locked into these dogmatic ways of, interacting with the spirit world and spirit energy and everything else. And that's cool, because that'd be very representative of like the other theme about youth, finding new ways that, go against tradition and conservative ideas. But he's not like that. And he's also not Togashi, who can sit down and work out a great fantasy power system that is full of all of these rules that create wrinkles and offer opportunity for creativity. He ain't at that level. So like this tortured, rushed, explanation that he has to go through to explain why Ichigo can literally do every cool idea he ever came up with in the story is a kind of it's like I feel like I would much rather know the story about, like, how did Ishin become a fucking captain in the Gotei 13 despite just being a dude?
Yeah, because wasn't he inhuman?
He was just a dude.
Yeah. Well.
Somehow.
I think they have, there's an hour finale, so.
I mean, yeah, fine.
There'll be more.
But okay.
There'll be more where that comes from.
So that was a lot on Bleach. I like Bleach! I love it! It's just like, I'm just telling you, this is what happened. Okay, and as a manga reader, when I read that shit the first time, I was also having the exact same feeling. Like, did we have to do all of this? Could we have just done like one thing, like just find out about his dad?
No.
We have just
no.
It had to be all the above.
So
he had to have
at least
every
we know
power.
now that they're not like changing huge chunks of the story. They're just adding
Hell no.
on.
Hell no.
So they're not rewriting this shit.
This shit was cool. It was still cool. Don't get me wrong. Like,
yeah,
it was a good ass fight. Ichigo's mom actually like a fucking badass, which now leaves me with even more questions. Like, bro, if she could like one shot Omega Hollows with like a finger gun, how the fuck did she get killed by falling debris? Like, what the fuck is this?
We might know, might not know. It depends on what Kubo wants. And at this point, I don't even know what he wants. He's having fun drawing pictures, though. Like, he's having fun drawing concept art. I don't know if there's going to be any story to go along with them, though, ever.
Just go run and do Burn the Witch. I hope that in, like, the intermediate time that they're, like, up his ass about shit, that he has, like, opportunities to just read more stuff. Because, like, you
know what? He doesn't even need to do it all by himself. He can collab with someone else and just be the art. Like, it doesn't have to be just him, but I guess maybe, maybe that's what he wants.
Like, I don't need just for the record, I don't need Bleach or anything that comes out of this universe to like be great. I don't need that. I just need it to be cool. But it's just that I'm just pointing out that at moments like this in the story where like so many things have to get resolved at once, that the result of not paying good attention to what you were doing with other things in the story kind of catches up with you. Now, if you've got 4 years to spool out these little details here and there, it wouldn't feel the same way. Ichigo would still be a Gary Stu, but it just wouldn't feel like he got everything. Like overnight, they gave him everything.
Yeah.
So, but that's what it is.
Okay. Yeah, that was a lot of Bleach.
It was a lot of Bleach. It had to be because they put too much in this part of the story, and a lot of it is not very good. So you have to, yeah.
What else was there? I watched the first 4 episodes of Lookism.
What you think?
I'm enjoying it. It's not quite going in the way I thought it was going to go, and it definitely isn't ending this season.
Like, it's long. I thought it's super long. Wait, am I wrong?
Oh, look at it's only like 8 episodes.
No, I mean I thought the manhwa is long.
Oh, I don't know how long the manhwa is.
Yeah, but, I'm talking about hundreds and hundreds of chapters.
Oh my god. Okay, because I thought going into this, I thought this was going to be more so of like a social kind of show, which like it was like kind of like shining a mirror on society and being like, look how you treat this person, look how you treat that person, blah blah blah. Nah, this shit's like about fighting. Like these niggas are fighting. Like he's getting down with niggas. Or niggas want to get down with him, and then it's turning to other things. I'm interested. I'm not disappointed by any means, and also the opening song by ATEEZ is a fucking banger. Like holy shit, it's so fucking good, and it's not an actual single either. They don't have a full single up for it. I don't know. Why they did that, but overall production value, I really like it, and it's kind of really. What was something else that was like really bleak in the beginning? There was something else we watched this year that was just like, it was bleak as fuck in the beginning. It was like, damn, nigga, like, where do we go? Oh, like Chainsawman. It was kind of really fucking bleak and sad. Like, that first episode was not, it was not happy. It was not a happy ending. It was, you got your ass rocked multiple times. Multiple times. Now, I do like the system between when one body is in action, the other body is sleeping. So like it's definitely basically he could be awake like 24/7 if he wanted to, basically. So like he literally has 24 hours in the day to do everything because he doesn't get tired technically, depending on the body. Or that's what I'm believing that it is. I don't know. They haven't gone much deeper into that, or they haven't shown any repercussions for the other body working at nighttime. But I just got to the part where the mom showed up, and like, you know, he's not home or some shit like that, or the body there. But it's interesting. The one thing that I really did enjoy watching though was Dragon Age Absolution.
I've heard very good things.
Yeah, fucking loved it.
Okay, I gotta
pacing,
watch it.
Very swift pacing. This is honestly one of the best, and I don't know what studio animated it, but as far as like American animation or just like animation outside of like Korea, Japan, etc., which, you know what? Someone will probably let me know in the comments, oh, it was this studio that did it here. Sakuga for days. Just like...
Oh, okay.
Just like...
Well.
Yeah, just like every episode, just like fighting. Niggas' heads coming off, arms coming off, bodies getting dismantled. Like, they did not hold back. It was a lot. And then in turn, the core, like the group, the cast was so well developed. Like, we didn't even get backstories for half of them, but the way that their personalities shone through and how they interacted with everyone else was amazing. And then even the twists at the end that came through, I was like, this is Dragon Age. This is Dragon Age. Because this is the kind of shit that would happen in a playthrough of Dragon Age with like a character or some shit like that. So I very much so enjoyed it. I think in some areas it's getting really bad reviews because they're calling it a woke Dragon Age. And
what?
There's a lot of gay in it. There's a lot of gay.
No, I mean, like, did they not see Dragon Age? There's a lot of gay in that too.
Yeah, there's a lot. Like,
arguably, it's one of the first. It's one of the first like AAA games to really lean all the way in. Dorian, if you wanted to.
Like, did everyone forget about Dorian from Inquisition? Like, gay.
Yeah.
Like,
even from the first gay. Dragon Age, there were plenty of gay relationships you could pursue if that was what your character was.
So I've seen, because what I did was I was like, oh, I really enjoyed that. I wonder what other people think. Oh, this woke piece of shit and blah 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 blah. So you know what? Eat shit. It was really good, and it definitely is leading into another season. And what I also enjoyed about it was that it wasn't super duper isolated. Like, it happened in Savants, but there were so many Easter eggs of call outs of people's names and areas and what's going, like the dark roads and things like that, where I'm just like, oh, this makes me want to play. Like, this makes me want to pick up Inquisition and play it right now, which it was on sale for $9. So I was like, I'm buying that shit on PC. Thank you so much. And I want to play back through Inquisition, and it's just, like, the same thing with edgerunners. It made me want to, like, hop back into cyberpunk. But I think this probably would have been a better release if it had happened when they had more, more to give us about Dreadwolf. Because now everyone's just waiting, saying, okay,
we've been waiting since the last Dragon Age to what the fuck is going on.
What is going on? Yeah. And apparently I've read something about the reason it's taking so long is because Dreadwolf got canceled.
Yes, that's true.
Because they couldn't turn it into a live service game.
That's 100% correct. Yes.
Yeah. And then they picked it back up. And so now the development is just delayed.
Oh man, I want to have such a long conversation at some point. If it's the wrong, maybe we could do it here because there is a relevance to a lot of the ways in which anime franchises are able to monetize themselves through video games, good and bad, and the absolute like scumfuck bullshit that
of America
takes over the Western game industry in waves, and how it's like it is tanked so many
Anthem had so much potential.
Oh my god.
Anthem was literally it was like the mecha game that I had dreamed of. And they fucking ruined it.
No one has like fully, and this is true on both sides of, the ocean, but no one has like cracked the real code. The real code is that people don't have unlimited money. Okay? I don't know how this is still confusing to everybody in business in 2022, but human beings have a finite amount of cash. So you've got like two options if you want to take their money. You can either compete for things they are already spending money on and say, I have a better thing than that thing that you're spending on, give me money. Or you can take something that they're already spending their money on and create it in a way that makes it more friendly to them to spend more of their money on that thing. Okay? Yeah. So everything I just said is like the good above board way to approach life, economics, I guess, whatever. There's also like the below board way, which is like exploit people's natural predilection to addiction and their loyalty
fear of missing out.
FOMO, and their loyalty to brands and other and like status symbol stuff. Ugh. And like hack their brains to extract the cash out of their wallet. But I will make this argument. If you go that route, which is what a lot of everybody does. Yeah. The building a casino game that someone can keep in their pocket and then pretending like it's not actually killing their dopamine receptors with flashing lights while you have your hand in their bank account pulling out thousands of dollars. Like, if you do it that way, what really happens is the people who are going to be like unhealthily addicted to your thing and give you tons of money will kill themselves trying to do it. But there's another side of it, which is if you give someone something awesome, it is like it's blowing their minds, all the things that you are doing to build the fantasy they didn't even know that they had. Yes. They're not going to just give you their money. They're going to work really hard in their regular ass life to make enough money to give you more.
To give you more.
That
is it. That is it. So, example for me, anything Xenoblade 2 or Xenoblade related, if I see it, I want it, and I'm buying it.
Right.
That's it. Because
when you play Xenoblade, it feels like a game and a series of games.
Experience.
Yes, that was made by people who love Xenoblades.
Yes.
And love the people who love Xenoblade. To give them something where they're like, this is now my new favorite thing.
Yes.
It's not trying to extract the most money out of the people who love Xenoblade.
Saying, if you would like to use this character, you have to give us a little bit more money. Even though they are integral to the storyline, we need a little bit more money for you to be able to play them. Because it took a little bit more development. It's like,
that's the dirty secret. The dirty secret is these people are going to give you their money anyway if you do something awesome. Okay? It's trying to trick people and hack their brains, so that they're actually doing something that's shitty, but you've tried to program them to ignore all the things that suck and are clearly predatory through addictive means. They would give you more money if you gave them something amazing and there was an opportunity to pay for more of it. That's the
Dragon Age has such a good track record. It's kind of just like, why were you so hell-bent on adding a monetization side to it? Because what were you going to do? Make like randomly generated maps where we just roll through that shit and just slaughter things? Or some
multiplayer. Like the fact of the matter is, and I could say this from more of an inside perspective with respect to game design and development and a little bit of knowledge that I have about like the business side, is that in 2010 or 11 is about the right time, there were things happening in the industry that were poisoning the minds of executives, and one of the big ones was that the MMO craze had kind of, as far as like new growth, had peaked. But if you looked at what Blizzard and before this, I think, the Activision had been merged in. But if you just looked at like Blizzard and you looked at like what they were able to generate as far as revenue, recurring revenue from World of Warcraft, they were up there with Rockstar and I'm trying to remember. I think maybe it was Ubisoft, but really it was like Rockstar and Blizzard were like the two tent poles in the industry where if you read any industry magazine, not the review magazines, but like blogs and other things for the business side, the big question is, how do I make a hit that's like World of Warcraft? Okay, how does that happen? At the same time that was going down, games like Call of Duty and some other sorts of games had sort of tapped out on the battle pass concept, because before they would just sell DLC. They'd be like, oh, you could go buy like, extra maps, extra skins for the guns, but that economy was not consistent, right? They would always have to have a treadmill of content coming out, and if they missed on any of the content, people just didn't fucking buy it. So the question was, if I'm Ubisoft, I got two roads I can go down to make my game a $1 billion game, okay? I could either make it a open world chore simulator, so people constantly come back to my game, so it's like Grand Theft Auto, right? Which is arguably why Ubisoft is known today as just being like, all they do is make the same game. It's like Assassin's Creed. You go stand on a tall tower. There's 80,000 things to do on a map.
You go collect them.
And you go collect things, right? Because that's what made Grand Theft Auto initially big money. But even worse, when the new Grand Theft Auto came out and they had that multiplayer component to it, that open world multiplayer, that shit made so much fucking money. To this day, they're still releasing money for it. It single-handedly bankrolled the entire post-launch development of GTA and made Rockstar, which was already, I think, the fourth biggest studio by revenue, which only had like one fucking game. Yeah. This is compared to like your EA's, which has the whole NBA NFL license. There was so much fucking money there that people looked at this shit and they're like, I need to be making the next Grand Theft Auto, World of Warcraft, some recurring, monetary engine to make me $1 billion fucking dollars. But they forgot that if there's like 300 million people playing one game, they don't have money to go play 3 other games. They're just gonna pick one, which is why the MMO craze fell apart. It's the same reason. They thought that, I can have EverQuest, I can have Final Fantasy, I can have World of Warcraft. No, nigga. People are gonna pick one game because they're poor. One subscription game. That's all you get. They don't have any other disposable income. How many people play multiple gachas right now? How many? They try, but like that pay money into all of them? Nah, it's. You see what I mean? People pick one, at most 2, one on your phone and like Genshin. Yeah.
That's where a lot of people are at right now, and I mean the gacha stuff is weird because the space is dominated, or the content creators that dominate it, usually initially for specific games, are people who already have lots of money to not miss.
Yes.
So they bankroll the game hard, and then either they develop a community and they move on to the next game, or that becomes their game and they just keep throwing money at it, not missing it because they're already well off. But if you're talking about just like other regular gacha games, it's like you have to do everything, and all your time has to be invested for you to get the free shit to keep up. Let alone
that's the problem. And I think like, so just for reference, okay, so I don't fully remember, it's somewhere in the order of between $200 and $300 million is what it took to create Grand Theft Auto. Okay,
yeah,
so let's just go on like the lower end of that and say it was $200 million. If you spend $200 million on a game to build it, and your expectation is that it's going to make you $1 billion because you're trying to hit on the lottery of being the next Grand Theft Auto or being the next Genshin Impact, because Genshin Impact makes a ton of money too. You have to pull off the hat trick of being more popular and exciting than the things that are already making all that money.
Are different at least.
Or I mean, it could be a fucking clone, but you have to be able to compete with those games somehow. You have to get lucky in that, like, whatever you make is like becomes the zeitgeist, like timing and everything else. Like, you start making that game 4 years in advance. You don't know if in 4 years, like, whatever your concept was that was cool then is still going to be cool when it releases. And then on top of that, you got to hope that your total population of people who get into it, they can, they're going to generate enough money for you that it's going to pay back the losses that you're taking. Because if you're doing like live service shit, that costs money
to maintain.
To maintain. So like, there's all this shit that you're basically taking a huge bet. And they did what movie studios do. They just said, you know what? For every 10 of these games we make, 1 or 2 will hit, and they'll have to bankroll the rest, and then the rest they throw away. But the thing about players is, if you think that like your game ain't gonna make it, and it's not like blazing hotter than the sun when you're on that shit, you're just gonna go back to the thing you already did. WoW, so you could watch WoW servers. New game would come out, the numbers would drop. Give it like 3 or 4 months, people get tired of that shit. It's not hitting, right back to WoW. To this day. So, all that's a way of saying that, like, anime studios, they kind of have it a little bit better figured out, where hopefully the prestige product is the show. Whatever that is. You know, big franchise, right? Like, give me a new season of the show. That's probably a money loser for them. Or at least it's money neutral. They figure out other ways to monetize a lot of its partnerships, but the big one is, like, mobile games. Some of the mobile games are better than others, like quality-wise. Yeah. Some are better than others ethically. But the point is that when Ufotable makes a fucking mint on whatever version of Fate that they're selling to you on your phone, there's a bunch of them. It's not just Grand Order. It's gonna be good. Yeah, it's not only is that shit going to be good for the people who like it. If you're a Fate fan, it's actually a reasonable experience to play and or pay into. But then the money that gets generated goes right back out the door to things that increase the hype. New TV, OVA movies, new shit that's made for people who like that thing. Like I don't like, you know, I'm not a huge Fate fan, and so Grand Order kind of flies over my head. But I took one look at like the last like 3 seasons and a couple of movies for Grand Order, and I'm like, bro, this was made for people who love this shit. Yeah. It wasn't like,
constantly funnel money back into it, because
it wasn't the bootleg off-model animation in like Dragon Ball Super with like with Goku's face is like falling off. It's like literally sliding off of the model because like, you know, they're cheap as fuck. No, those Ufotable motherfuckers are like, listen, we know what butters our bread, and it's hot shit. We're gonna animate the fuck out of anything that we do, and the people who love us, all the weird bullshit that's like the Fate series, they're gonna love this shit even more. And the people who hate it ain't for them.
Non-stop. And they found their market, they found their niche, and it's growing bigger and bigger every day. So, right. And they
don't do unethical shit. That's all I'm saying.
They don't even do live service for the majority of their things.
No. So that's all I'm getting at, is that like this Dragon Age thing is good.
Yeah. They're just obsessed with it. They want, and just like you said, they want something that other people have that they want for themselves. I mean, it's whatever. What is it? The board, getting niggas their money, investment, blah blah blah, and it's not about the actual game. And there's a game that I've been playing like lately where it's just made by one guy and then the music is made by something else. It is the one of the best gaming experiences I've had in my life. And I have already decided whatever this nigga makes, I'm buying it from now on. Because of how good this one game is. Like, it's so good. And it's not asking me for a single fucking thing except for my time. That's it.
That's good.
That's it.
That is good.
It's not saying, oh, buy the battle pass and you get access to the new character immediately. Otherwise, you'll have to grind 50 levels. Okay, Overwatch. Sure. I guess, if I have time. But then, when your game disappears out of the limelight within the next 2 years, you're going to be like, wait, where did everybody go? Why did everybody go? Because, like, what were you really offering? What were you offering?
Right.
Like, were you trying to build a universe, a lore, and all this kind of shit like that? They were, but they decided to do it too late. So a lot of the people who cared about it when Overwatch 1 came out don't care about it no more. And all the new people are like, well, what's going on? And you're telling us it's free, but we have to pay for the story stuff? So why didn't you just give us a fee up top? Like, it's... So... I don't know what... They don't know what they're doing. All they're doing is they're just following each other. Overwatch, World of Warcraft. I hear there's a battle pass coming in World of Warcraft now. There's a battle pass coming in Diablo 4. It's just like... And Diablo... Why is Diablo costing $70?
Well... We go deeper into the economics of things. I will tell you. People don't want to know about this, but and this won't make anybody happy. But games, at least box games from like traditional retail, have been ridiculously underpriced for probably 20 years, and nobody wants to hear. And nobody in the industry really wants to hear that either. That how far games have been underpriced. Because if you want to know why there's been such poor treatment of so many parts of the people in the industry, from programmers to testers to all these folks trying to get unions now, a big reason why, not just corporate greed, there's plenty of corporate greed, but it's also because the actual production of video games has been absurdly lowballed to a point where if people knew what it really like, it's not a secret anymore that Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo, well, that's on Nintendo, basically Sony and Microsoft.
Yeah.
They make a big loss on every PlayStation console and Xbox console that's sold. They take a loss. It's just not like you think they're expensive as fuck, but like they would need to be maybe a third more expensive per unit for it to break even. Okay, yeah. They take the loss
people
because
won't pay that price.
Exactly, people won't pay it, and they know that their way of making the money back is through selling things directly to people, because they have all these deals with the distributors and blah blah blah. So they've got their vig. They kind of know how that business works. It's cool. On the game side, it's very much like the animation side. There are so few games that even make their own budget back, but these companies make lots of money, but the cost to make them can't be passed on to consumers because consumers would not pay. If you take like a small size development company, and by the way, Japan gets around the losses in anime through production committees, for better or worse. There's big problems with like the way production committees can work, but one of the things they do is that they diffuse the potential losses on a television show by basically taking all of the expected revenue and spreading it out, revenue and costs, and spreading it out over like lots of partners. So like if I don't know what show, let's use Chainsawman as an example, even though I think it's probably doing fine.
Yeah.
If Chainsawman isn't a hit, if it costs $30 million, which is, I mean, that's crazy. Maybe if it costs like $15 million to make Chainsawman, no one studio is gonna lose $15 million. No one business partner that it'll be like a milk company and like Sony Avex, or Avex doesn't exist, but like Sony and like all these other things. Like they're all spreading the costs out, and so that if there's an opportunity to, like, as you point out with like monetization on things like mobile games or whatever, they all have the right to both exploit that and as well as benefit from the money that comes back in. So the risk is like taking down a bunch of pegs. In like video games, that ain't how that shit works at all.
All or nothing.
It's all or nothing. The publisher is the one that is probably giving you the most of the bread to like make a game, but for the most part, like, you see where funding comes from. It's crowdsourcing. It's all this other like rinky dink, you know, nickel and dime shit. All the big studios are owned by platforms at this point, or they're like EA. They're like a fucking octopus, like a tentacles that go everywhere. Your Ubisoft. Most of those games that get made, they operate at a huge loss when they make them. They might cost you 50 million, 100 million, 150 million to make. Them shit should cost like 200 million, 300 million dollars to make, but they lowball everybody. They lowball the artists, they lowball the programmers, they lowball the QA people, they make them work quadruple overtime and don't pay them. Like, and all of that is to say, if they did pay them, you know what your video game would cost at retail? Like $200. No, it'd be like $150, $200. And by the way, games used to cost that much. That's what people fucking forget. I'm old. I remember going to EB Games, or even before that, Funko Land. There were new out the box $120 games in the 90s. That shit's almost $200 in today's money. New. The reason they brought the price down was, number one, to, you know, capture more people, but two, once a big company says we're only going to charge you this much for our games, pretty much everybody's got to move. Yeah. And now there's a perception in people's heads that, like, if a game costs less than whatever the premium price bar is, it's somehow less quality. So if they sell you a game for $35 and the new price is $70, most people are going to call that a budget game. And if you get the label of a budget game, in practice, you're not selling Grand Theft Auto numbers, because people just think that your game is low quality. Yeah. So it works on both ways. That pushes the floor up on one end, but the ceiling is now brought so low that the way they have to make money are all these fucking schemes. It's all this, like, because if you think about it, a battle pass is just an extra tax on top of what you already paid for the game to get all the content. And all that content's already made. If there's a day one battle pass, the company already paid to make that. Yeah. That was part of the deal.
Following battle passes are already in development. Like,
yeah, that's right. So if you go, you buy your game, and then you pay additional, is it $20 now for a battle pass? $10? I don't know what it is.
Usually $10. Yeah.
Sure. So now you paid $10. Guess what? The game costs $80. That's what the game costs, is $80. But you bought it for $70, and then they sold you extra content for $10, but the extra content they already made. So that's part of on their end of the ledger. That's already money spent. So they're just getting that back by pretending like the sticker price is lower than it really is. And that's the thing. All these, the pre-order bundles, all of this stuff is just a way of disguising the fact that, like, the game should cost more. They just know that they can't get everybody to pay the actual cost of the game. So they give you these, so they don't do that in anime. That's a different business model, but, like, the way they got around it was, like, the production committees and all this other stuff. And, you know, anime that flops, you just never see it again. That's it. Where's Rave Master? Where is that?
I mean, wait, didn't Rave Master finish?
No, I'm saying, like, today, in, like, 2022.
Oh, okay.
You know, like, that IP's gone. You know, nobody cares about that shit.
They don't care about that. He got bigger titted girls anyway. He don't care about
he's been making the same characters
for
like 20
anime
years.
Forever. He does not. As long as he got tittle bitties, it's gonna be okay. Okay.
Lucy and a cat
Lucy
and Pooh.
Lucy and Pooh in every iteration. He's good to go.
What
same character archetypes.
What a genius.
If it's not broke, don't fix it. I gotta give it to him.
No, I'm not even mad about that. I think that's good. Like, Hiro Mashima stays in his lane. He knows, like, I can only really tell, like, one or two stories. I've got, like, the same character archetypes I want to play with. Like, I'm gonna just keep doing that. And guess what?
I know my formula.
Right, you know my formula. He'll get mad volumes out on these stories. I'm trying to figure out, like, what the fuck is even happening? Like, how are some of these series so fucking long?
Well,
but
I wish Spider would come back, but I don't think that anime did that well.
No.
But the light
novel,
novel,
it had a vibe.
Hotcakes.
It had a vibe. If the light novel's selling good, you'll get more anime. That is true.
Yeah, it's selling really well. I think that, what is it? That Slime and that slime and Mushoku Tensei are like selling really well right now.
Yeah, Mushoku Tensei is like the perfect example of what I'm talking about. Is that the light novel? I don't know what its level of quality was, but clearly it was very good, and people really loved it. Have loved it for a long time. Eventually they made an anime that was a gift to people who loved the light novel, made by people who loved the light novel, and
a studio specifically for that. Yeah.
Yep, and lo and behold, it was successful and catapulted the stature of that series. Yep, up another notch. It made it internationally viable, right? So now you can go back to that and mine all the money you want. But the main thing is that if I'm a reader or I'm a watcher, I'm pretty confident that what I'm going to get from those products is going to be quality. And guess what? They'll get my money. Yeah. Right? They'll get my money. So.
But America doesn't. Well, but the Western world, they don't. They're not interested in doing it.
Not really, but you can see where it does work. Because I would say, like, the Dragon Age thing you were talking about. That's an example of, clearly there's a labor of love there, right? Someone put their foot in that shit.
Due to specific overlords.
Exactly. The reason why it exists is because a bunch of bullshit happened to get us here. But like that, or like Castlevania, or like, I even look at stuff like The Boys, right? Like, that's a corporate-driven investment in an IP that's very small, but the people that got to make it gave a fuck. They just gave a fuck. I want to do a good job here, right? Like, yeah. and then they gave the world something that people really liked, and now all of a sudden it's a big old franchise and everybody's happy. Who's upset except for like maybe like racists? But like besides that,
I haven't watched it, so I don't know why
homophobes and racists.
Okay. Well,
yeah,
I heard
they're
about
mad.
the homophobe part somebody's supposed to be revealed as Well, whatever. Oh well.
It is what it is.
Yeah. Wait,
so
how did we even get over there? Oh yeah,
I don't know.
Dragon
We were
Age,
just talking about Dragon Age,
money, and So Dreadwolf, I doubt we'll see it in 2023.
I haven't heard shit, so no, we not.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything. Ironically, I've been hearing a lot of good stuff about World of Warcraft, but still don't trust them. So it be what it be. I can watch the story scenes on YouTube.
They got a whole ass movie out of that franchise that went into actual theaters in the last like 6 years. That's like 4 or 5.
Monster Hunter got a movie.
Ain't that fucking crazy? But they were both shameless cash-ins, but they spent a lot of money on that World of Warcraft movie.
They did, but
it sucked. It's horrible. It's horrible.
I don't even remember it.
It's like 90% CGI, but it's like expensive CGI.
But what was even the core?
They were telling like the Arthas story.
Ew! Nobody cares about art. Okay, well, I guess maybe that.
I mean, what was the most popular, well received WoW expansion of all time?
Lich King.
There you go. So there's your answer. Yeah.
I mean, but everyone loves elves. Why didn't they just fucking do the elves and like the okay, whatever.
You answered your own. You answered your own question.
Whatever. Okay. Okay, I guess if they like it, then others will tolerate it. Yeah, but those movies. I mean, Monster Hunter. I actually have a friend who's like been trying to get into Monster Hunter, and he can't do it. Well, it's not that he can't do it. I just told him, I was like, you need to play with me or someone else.
Or just play with somebody. Playing with somebody does make it a lot better.
Playing with somebody makes it a lot better. But then I was like, you need to go to YouTube. Because he's trying to learn the weapons, like, by himself in the stuff. I was like, you can't do that. You can't do that.
I mean, you can if you really are, like, into the game. But
no. If you want to learn how to use your weapon in a way where you will see, oh, this is the flow of the game. Like, oh, I can do that? Like, wait, what? Like, are you kidding me?
There's how do I translate this? Addiction. But there's like a certain moment in when you play a Monster Hunter game when like you finally get that good hit in.
The flow, when you find a flow with that weapon, it's over because you mop that monster and you're like, oh, I'm gonna do that to this bitch. It's like, no, you're not. It's like, well, I'm gonna get credit. I'm gonna get good enough, or oh, I gotta get this weapon because it's gonna help me do this and then that. And then once you feel like you've mastered that one weapon, you have 13 other weapons that play completely differently. And yeah, just I can see how for some people it's definitely like a very high like hurdle getting into it. But they made a whole fucking movie off of that, and I ain't hear shit else.
Because it was a cheap cash in, and the only reason to go see that movie is because Tony Jaa is in it. And yeah, I rock for Tony Jaa, but I ain't seeing another Mila Jovovich cash in. I'm not doing that to myself. Like, that man deserved better. That franchise deserved better.
It did.
You could tell when they're trying to save money when they film the whole. When like it takes place in a desert. It's like, you mean it takes place in a place you could film for free?
Oh well.
Yep. Nah, bro.
Well,
nah.
I mean, now that was accurate for like a one climb.
Yep, but it takes place when you do that, it's so that you, because what I mean, I didn't see the whole film, but like what was in the trailer? It's like a bunch of military looking Humvees in a desert. Guess what? You barely need a film permit for that. Go out somewhere and. You could film in Arizona. Fuck, you could film that in like Argentina, for like nothing. Okay, go out there. You can blow some things up. You get a few props. The rest of it's like CGI, and then film the interstitial stuff on a soundstage in LA. Like, bruh, that they weren't trying to do nothing with that. Let's keep it a buck.
Cash ins.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Was there any news? Oh my goodness. Whatever. Was there any news that you had this week?
Only thing I care about, Hell's Paradise getting a date, finally. But that's it. There's nothing that's I mean, it's a dead zone for news. It's not like preview related anyway, because we're about to hit the Christmas break, and people don't want like they're not gonna announce anything important during that period of time. Where no one's focused on fucking anime and shit. They're focused on family and food and all that other stuff. So nothing really for me. Not for me anyway. Maybe there's some shit for other people, but I'm good.
Yeah, I mean, I saw like the new Rurouni Kenshin, like PV and things like that, which I will be watching because I think the American one only went up to like a certain arc. Like there's like an arc that has to deal with Christianity, right?
So like some knights show up. I don't even know if it ever got.
What is this? Akira Toriyama's Sandland manga gets screen adaptation?
Like I've heard of that. I don't know nothing about it.
Oh boy, watch it have better production values than Super.
I mean, a lot of things could have better production values than
True.
Super. I mean, when it comes to Kenshin, it's like there were things that were not animated, from my understanding from the manga, because it kind of got like a 1,000-year Blood War arc situation. Like the very last full arc was the son of one of the guys he killed or fought and died later in like the earlier in the season. Yeah, it's like I don't remember I don't remember the details. I'll be blunt. Like my brain was filled up with Bleach, not Kenshin lore. But I mean, I'm generally a fan of the series. I think that what I would love to see, which they're not going to do, but let's if you're gonna do a Kenshin again, I don't give a fuck about the later stuff. Who cares? Go continue Samurai X, which was the OVA. That I was like a fan of Kenshin, but Samurai X, that OVA, that was life altering because it was beautiful. It was like I didn't even realize they were the same story. Like it's the prequel. For those not familiar, the Rurouni Kenshin had a prequel manga that got adapted by, was it Madhouse? Did they do that?
Was it Mad? I don't know.
It was a known studio, but like it's in a totally different style from the original. It is bleak and bloody and very grounded. There's no like, I mean, Kenshin was they tried to stick with what you could do shonen wise. Like he wasn't casting magic spells, But
No.
in Samurai X, it was all about close quarters violence with swords and people getting cut up, sliced up, murdered in back alleys. Like that blood was everywhere. Like shit was fucking crazy. When it came out on DVD, like that's the shit where you're like, bro, you've heard of Kenshin, but do you know about that Samurai X though? Do you know about that shit? And then that's how you put your man on, like, yo, you think this ain't some kid stuff, right? This is what Kenshin was like before he turned that blade the other way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yo,
Batosai.
The Hitokiri Batosai was out. And I would love to see the series revisited in the same way. You know, if you're gonna go that far and produce more anime, like, I want to see more of that. But I'm an adult, so that's what I want. But maybe there's an audience for the stuff that was not animated. Not that maybe there is an audience for the stuff that wasn't animated, and it was proven because the Kenshin movies did money in Japan. So that's how you knew, no matter what happened to the author and what he was up to, that series was just on its way back into the mainstream. Because how many movies did they make? Was it like 2 or 3? I don't remember, but
for the American one,
the live action that was in Japan.
Oh no, I don't know.
Yeah, it wasn't good. I don't think those movies were any good at all. But
they kept making them. The promos look good.
They made a lot of fucking money. And so once something makes a bunch of fucking money, that's how you know that, like, it's coming back. If you know what I mean. Like, that shit was coming back. And I want to mention something. It was Studio Dean that did the Kenshin OVAs, which I think they were.
Oh, okay.
But like, you gotta understand, Studio Dean from like pre-2000 and Studio Dean from like 2000 going forward are like very, very, very different studios. They are very different because, like, one is a studio that gave you like Ranma 1/2 and You're Under Arrest and like even like Gravitation, which I guess is for the gays. That wasn't for me. But you know,
God.
It wasn't for me.
Gravitation.
Yep. Even like the original Fruits Basket. But then they also gave you a lot of paint by numbers series in the post 2000s era that don't quite hold up as well. Even though
the memories just came flooding. Holy shit. Yeah. Gravitation had to sneak my ass off on Kazaa. To get those. I had to put in some, like, listing at the staircase, like,
oh shit,
I gotta cancel the download. I gotta cancel it.
So the thing, what was the one that we've talked about this, but how, like, I didn't realize that Get Backers. Well, you do after a while.
Or BL.
Yeah. But the way I found out was actually that it ties back to Gravitation because someone, oh man, it was like way in like the BBS days where like the message board system, and people were like, oh, what are your like favorite like BL, or I think at that time they didn't even have that euphemism. They were just talking about like what are the gay series. And then it was like, it's like Gravitation, and then Get Backers. I'm like, really?
But it wasn't as pronounced. As pronounced.
The manga especially, like, you'd have to be a manga reader, and you have to be a manga reader for like I want to say it was like the beginning really leaned into it, but then the mangaka kind of I don't remember. It's either one way or the other. It's either in the beginning it was like straight up shonen and it became that way, or it was the other way around. But bottom line is that I was like, oh, well, now I guess some of these designs make sense. Like, okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
I really wish that anime had finished because there was some cool ass ideas, man. A lot of cool shit. A lot of cyberpunk stuff that I didn't realize that was like. Because that's kind of the hidden subplot, is that it may be a simulation of some kind. But anyway.
Yeah. So.
Yep. That's it for me.
Yeah, I have a recommendation.
We might have the same one. I don't know. Let's see. What are you gonna recommend?
What is yours? A game?
Yes.
Oh, mine is Chained Echoes.
That was gonna be mine as well.
Oh shit! Well, then we have the same one. I am obsessed with this game. I'm so obsessed with this game that I've bought it twice. I bought it on Steam, and I was like, blah, 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 blah. And then I have this trip coming up, and I was like, I can't play it. I don't have a Steam Deck. I can't play it. So I bought it on the fucking Switch, and I started all the way to fuck over, and I'm like working my way to where I'm at now. This is so good. So good. So good. From the crafting to the fighting. Story isn't the most like revolutionary thing, but it's intriguing enough. It's so good. $25. $20 on Steam, actually, if you get the release date thing. But you guys, like, when they talk about, like, you know, this being like a really good like throwback classic RPG, it really is like that. The fact that I talk to every single NPC from the beginning of the game, as you go through the whole town stuff like that, and you talk to people and you find out things about the town, and then you go and you investigate, and there's actually something there, or it comes back up later on, or there's something going on in another town, and you come back to this, and then like a little side quest starts. It's all over the place. From that to the class emblems, and even just to the character design. Like, Sienna is my bitch. Like, a crit katana wielding bleed dot drop, like, just amazing. And I think I'm only halfway through the game.
You're halfway through? I'm not even halfway through, but I'm definitely enjoying
there's one thing I will say is that the systems keep getting added, but they're not added like excessively. When you get to a point in the story where it makes sense, Like, the systems get added and things open up more, etc., etc. The skill system is also, I like the skill system with the grimoire shards as opposed to having like traditional leveling. It's good. It's really good. Like, I have a little notebook of whenever I get new equipment and shit like that, I go to the blacksmith and I write down notes of what I need to go out and steal and from what monsters and wherever, because several times I've ran into roadblocks where I'm like, I'm getting washed. Like, I don't have enough defense. I have the attack power, but I'm not staying alive long enough to kill the fucking monster. And they don't do health bars on the fucking bosses. So you just gonna have to fucking stick it out. You don't know when you're winning. You're gonna have to make it work. You're gonna have to learn the patterns. It's so enjoyable. It's so addictive. The fact that I'm already playing through the game all over again, and I'm not bored. I'm not bored at all. And in fact, I'm rereading everything, looking for hints to what has already happened in the plot. And I'm like, oh, you did say that. You did say that in the prologue, bitch. Caught it. Or, oh, why did you look at that person on in this one scene? Nothing is voice acted. Nothing.
Yeah.
It's fucking great. Yeah. I mean, I don't know how far you are, but fucking great.
I'm pretty early in the game. I think I've only gotten the first 2 class skill statues, and so I haven't really even progressed to...
Oh, you haven't made it through the mountains and shit yet.
Not even.
Yeah, you got a lot.
I'm at that part, I got basically item checked in that first dungeon. And I was like, oh, I actually don't have like the SP replenishment to like go through some of these fights that I'm also not properly geared for. Yeah. So I went back out and was doing all like the side stuff to, upgrade everybody's things.
Did you fight the carrot? Did you fight the carrot?
I haven't found the carrot. I haven't done any of that stuff. I know it's there. I don't know where the carrot's at. I'll find them though.
Oh, okay.
The carrot and the goblin stuff, I haven't done it yet, but I just went back and I found a nice fight to grind for SP, so everybody has like heal all and all that stuff, and
Oh, you're grinding SPC. I didn't even think to grind.
Well, because I was like, yo, I need some flexibility. But the point is, I'm enjoying the game, enjoy the systems. I like the writing is subtle in some ways and also like adult in ways that are necessary to carry like a story of the seriousness that they're trying to do. It's also pretty funny. I like the multiple perspectives. Yes. I think that they communicate, when I talk about good writing, without voice acting, you are unable to communicate certain subtlety without being a deft writer. To understand that like different characters feel and sound differently based on how they speak. Whereas like I've noticed in this era of like voice acting and that kind of, you can run into a game where everyone kind of speaks in the same voice.
Yeah.
Because they can get away with vocal performances
inflections and things
to
like
do
that.
all the extra subtle stuff. But if you just go by like the written word on the page, there's a feeling of sameness because it's all coming from the same hand. So I really loved how much character is packed into this more old school style of game presentation that I think is a lot. It's a lost art. Music is fantastic. Sound effects are awesome. Animations are really cool, and especially the way that they are able to convey a lot with a slightly more simplified art style. I'm not talking about just 2D versus 3D or like
gorgeous and also dynamic at the same time.
Yeah, like 16-bit inspired versus like painterly. I'm saying that specifically the way in which there's so much attention to detail and small animations all over the place really draws you in ways that like a better looking, higher fidelity 3D game would miss, because it has to all be done by hand. And then besides that, I think that the battle and combat systems are... Right now, I'm looking to see where the flexibility is going, but I can already feel what is possible. So I really have a fun time teasing out not just min-maxing, but like what interesting things can you do with that system. So I really enjoy it. I make the same recommendation you do, and I would say that I'm playing it on Xbox.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because it did come out on PC also.
Yeah, it's on Game Pass. So if you're paying for Game Pass, you've got the game already.
Oh, that's what Jamin was saying. Because I was recommending it to some other people, and they were like, yeah, it's on Game Pass. And I'm like, I don't know what that is, but you need to play it. So, okay. So is that like PlayStation Plus, like the free games?
Yeah, but I don't know what the library of Game Pass is like or rather PS Plus. I rarely ever.
Well, I think with PlayStation Plus, you have to download the game. For that month. Does Game Pass just add things indefinitely?
Pretty much. I mean, like, Microsoft. Another dirty secret. The reason why Game Pass is so sick is because Microsoft already pays for Azure, which is like the back end platform for all this like cloud stuff. So they can put any number of games onto it, and it's not like they pay anything for it. Whereas like other companies that want to do something similar have to rent those servers. Kind of like how like Amazon gets away with like Twitch being a thing, because if Twitch was a company and had to pay for all that AWS server bandwidth for all that video, it would very quickly go out of business, because it's like you can't turn a profit on that. No. So Game Pass is pretty like liberal about everything. I've never seen anything getting taken off of Game Pass, with like the exception of maybe like 1 or 2 partner deals ending and not getting whatever. But they also have like they have the opportunity to put the whole 360 library on there, and there's a lot of games from that era that pretty much now only exist on Game Pass, with a few exceptions.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it's a good deal. I think it's the best deal in gaming. My homie actually asked me a couple weeks ago. He had some money, and he was like, I want to buy, either Xbox or PlayStation, the latest one. And I said, if you're into like exclusives, then Sony definitely has the better first party studios and the better stuff that's out right now.
Yeah.
But I would say that the best value in gaming is actually on the Xbox, and it's Game Pass, because I got bored a few weeks ago, and I'm like, I don't want to play Apex because this fucking new map is ass, unless you're 3-stacking with a bunch of like sweaty nerds. And since I don't do that, it's not fun for me. I need new games. And I looked around, and I was gonna like buy stuff on my Steam list, but I was like, let me hook up Game Pass, and let me tell you that Chained Echoes is on there. Eluden Chronicles, which is that crowdfunded game that initially was supposed to be like a successor spiritually to Suikoden, but instead kind of went like the Castlevania route a little bit. Like, like that's on there. There's a ton of like underrated smaller games, as well as like first party stuff like Gears and other things, Halo Infinite, because I love Halo. Like, it's all there. Wow. I don't mean this to be an ad for Xbox, but those are just the two things I balance. Was like, you know, if I had to choose one, and I'm like trying to get the best bang for my buck, Xbox is where it's at for Game Pass, but PlayStation probably has a better exclusive. So I mean,
that makes sense. And also, I mean, the PlayStation exclusives are still pretty exclusive because who the fuck has a PS5? Like,
right. I still can't find one. Listen, I'll be the first to tell you, bro. It's been a nightmare.
What do you mean you haven't found one?
It's been a nightmare.
Wow.
Yeah, I'll get into it later, but like I still don't have one. Let's put it that way.
Final Fantasy 16 sales are not going to be looking that great if niggas can't play it. Like I'm sorry if I can't.
I did just buy a new laptop though, so like I can't be saying shit. But
okay. Well, okay.
Yeah.
But still, I mean, unless they're not going to do a simultaneous release on Steam. They're going to wait a year or so probably. But
always wait, which makes no sense. PC should be the primary platform, but we can talk about that at another time.
Yes. So that is all for this week. If you haven't already, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe on the YouTube. Let us know what you think of the video and just everything else in general. A lot of videos dropped. Y'all got a lot to get through. So when you get through here, you'll have even more. And then we also have our best of episode coming up soon with another special guest. And make sure you follow us on anime_savants on Twitter. And then just regular Anime Savants on YouTube if you are watching on YouTube, your platform of choice, and, you know, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. And shout out to the TikTok people who are here now because
that's crazy.
I figured that shit out and y'all are watching. So
that's
welcome.
Crazy.
Welcome.
Yeah, man.
More clips coming.
That's what's up. You can hit me up anytime at Neural Handshake on Twitter. Big shout outs to those who are engaging on platforms that do allow for commenting. We're always looking for feedback. Anything you want to see, hear us talk about, just let us know. You know, there's only so much time in a week, but there's plenty of anime that we could be looking at, including a lot of stuff that we're not. Between the two of us, and also
so much coming.
It's too much. But listen, we've been on this road before. Some things just gotta get the hard cut. That's just the way life works. This is not explicitly a react, show. No, it's just the stuff that we like to talk about, the stuff that we like to watch. So I'm open always to like picking up some new stuff. Like I said, the other week I watched some episodes of Love Flops just because. And it was an interesting experience. Again, you know, we don't have to love everything. Sometimes it's worthwhile to look at something and just understand it for what it is. But I tell you right now, I'm not watching no fucking Peter Grill. Get the fuck out of here with that. Ain't no way.
Wait, don't tell me someone recommended you go watch that.
Well, there was a comment that I got on Twitter that was about like if I would watch Love Flops and why do I hate Peter Grill?
Isn't Peter Grill like explicitly? Okay.
It just sucks. It's not about what the content. I don't care if there's like big old floppy titties and people fucking. That's not my problem. It's just not good.
But also, like, Love Flops has like the other stuff, paradox.
Yeah, there's like something interesting happening there. I'm not saying I'm not. It's still being animated by. Yes, and it's still being animated by a porn company. So I'm not like. The problem is not the explicit content. I don't give a fuck about that. But I'm also like not turned on by it either. I think it's funny when like trash tries to reach above its status to do something else, and when they succeed, I want to give props for that because it's sort of like I won't name any names. You can go look this up yourself. But there are some prominent directors who produce movies for Hollywood that are very well known. That if you go and you do a little digging, you'll find out that they have or had a pseudonym, and they produce a lot of weird and wacky shit, including tons of porn. Okay, so like sometimes people just gotta get in the industry the way they want. So when I see like some shows that are designed to be garbage, but somebody's doing some good work in there, like that's fun for me.
For the future. Keep an eye out.
That shit is fucking fun to find out. I love that shit.
Love Flops is an original too. So
yes, it is. It 100% is. So but I'm not watching Peter Grill. Sorry. I saw 10 minutes of like an episode from the last season that just made my eyes want to fall out of my head and my brain leak out of my ears, and I'm like, there is no amount of fan service that's going to allow me to persist through an entire episode. No, we will not be doing that. I'm sorry.
Okay. Well, all right then. We will see y'all next. We'll see y'all eventually. But
yep.
yeah, we'll see y'all eventually. Bye.
Peace out.